Welcome, focused learners, to today's Explainer. We're digging into a seriously fascinating piece today called Parents for Development, a macro view of household agency. It's a brilliant text by Oluyomi Oladavid, and she explores something we often take for granted. She looks at how the seemingly everyday, totally normal act of parenting is actually what shapes the entire future of our world.
I really want you to think about this for a second. Amidst a billion voices on the planet, who stands out the most? Right now, there's just endless noise out there, right? Billions of people communicating, shouting, debating. But if you strip away all the politicians, the celebrities, the constant media buzz, who truly cuts through all of that to shape an individual human life? Well, according to the author, the answer brings us right back to our very first human connection. She notes that to a child, the voice of a parent is the absolute clearest signal in all that noise. It's literally the foundational frequency of human development.
Okay, let's dive into this. Oluyomi Oladavid's central thesis here is that parents are principal, lifelong educators. And this isn't just some sweet, sentimental thought. She makes it abundantly clear that long before a kid ever sets foot inside a classroom, and honestly, long after they graduate, her research shows that parents are the ones doing the real heavy lifting. They're providing unselfish care, nurture, and absolutely vital protection. She points out that even massive global governance institutions recognize this primary role. So the family unit isn't just some nice little byproduct of society. She argues it's the fundamental training ground for every single human being who will eventually step out into the wider world.
Now, this is where her brief takes a really brilliant pivot. We're taking that intimate, micro-level parent-child bond, and we're projecting it straight onto the massive macroeconomic stage. We are shifting right from household nurture directly into global economics. You see, she argues that parenting is intrinsically tied to global manpower planning. So the way we treat parents and households, it doesn't just affect the kids, it literally dictates the flow of human capital around the entire world. If a country wants a strong, thriving workforce, they absolutely cannot ignore the people who are raising that workforce.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how she connects household agency directly to the global war for talent. As global migration trends are showing us, top talent doesn't just move for a bigger paycheck anymore. They move for a life. She points out that countries and corporations that want to attract top-tier global talent have to actively build family-friendly systems. It requires enterprise management systems and deliberate policy interventions that actually esteem, meaning they deeply respect and value household governance. Think about it. If your society or your business makes it impossibly hard to be a good parent, she warns that the best global talent will simply pack up and migrate to a country that actually supports their family life.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a real-world application. She grounds her argument in a hugely successful case study, the Finnish education model. Now, Finland consistently ranks at or near the very top of global education indexes, right? And she highlights their specific system to show us exactly what policy interventions that respect parents actually look like in practice. Instead of just obsessing over standardized testing metrics, the Finnish model puts an incredible amount of trust in the home environment as the primary incubator for early learning. It's just a perfect illustration of her thesis in motion.
And what's the cornerstone of that Finnish model she highlights? It all comes down to a single, pretty surprising number: 7. In Finland, formal schooling does not begin until a child reaches the age of 7. I mean, think about how radically different that is from systems that push toddlers into super intensive academic environments. She emphasizes that by intentionally delaying formal schooling until age 7, the state is giving parents ample opportunity to guide the early psychosocial, intellectual, and educational development of their kids. The government is effectively stepping back and saying, hey parents, you are the principal educators right now. We trust you to lay the foundation.
Look right here at this contrast she draws. It's a sharp rhetorical divide between cooperation and competition within this educational framework. In those vital early years guided by parents, and then later in the Finnish schools, the principles being taught are deeply rooted in cooperation. She strongly argues that pushing intense competition on young kids is just counterproductive. Instead, it's that spirit of cooperation that truly aids in training children for the real world. And why is that? Well, because the real world of community life and work isn't some solitary race, right? It requires collaboration, empathy, and shared effort, which are exactly the skills first modeled and nurtured by parents at home.
Let's slow down for a moment here. We are approaching the true climax of her policy brief. We've looked at the micro level of a parent's voice, and we've explored the national level with Finnish education and workforce migration. But now she wants us zooming out to the absolute widest lens possible. She expands her focus from national education all the way out to the very survival of our planet. Seriously, this is where her argument scales up to the highest possible stakes.
Let's walk through the logical steps she maps out for this massive global vision. Step 1, we need wholesome people. And where do wholesome people come from? Well, as we've learned, they're raised by supported parents. Step 2, only when we have societies made up of these wholesome, well-nurtured people can we realistically work for peace and shared prosperity. And finally, Step 3. It is exactly that peace and shared prosperity that allows us to build the massive cross-border partnerships required to actually save the planet. Do you see the flow there? Her entire vision for sustainable development and planetary survival rests entirely on the foundational, unselfish care provided by parents right at the very beginning of the chain. It absolutely cannot be disregarded.
Because of these massive stakes, she ends with a really powerful call to action. She insists that society must actively work to celebrate and develop future parents around the world, today and always. And this requires building 4 distinct layers of support. First, we must institute cultures that truly revere parenting. Second, we need the physical infrastructures, like accessible healthcare and safe communities. Third, we need the internal infrastructures, meaning the emotional and community networks of support. And fourth, we need the overarching legal and economic structures, things like paid leave and flexible working hours. It's a completely comprehensive top-to-bottom societal commitment to the people raising the next generation.
Which brings us to a question I want to leave you with today. Based on everything Oluyomi Oladevid has outlined for us, from attracting global talent to literally saving the planet, how does your own community institute the cultures and structures needed to support parenting today? Seriously, look around your workplace, your local government, your own neighborhood. Are you seeing systems that esteem household governance, or are you seeing systems that make it harder? It's a vital question, because as this explainer has shown, the way we support parents today directly writes the history of tomorrow. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and hey, keep asking those big questions.